Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When such persons come in contact with a pure devotee, they engage in devotional service of Krishna and give up the idea of liberation. A verse in the Bhakti Vilasa Subodhaya states, Oho Mahatman, Bahudosu Dusto, Api Akena, Bhati Esa, Bhavagunena, Sat Sangam Makhena, Asukha Vahena, Kratya Nayana, Krishna Mumukshan. O great soul, although there are many flaws within this miserable life, there is yet one glory, the association of pure devotee. Cultivate such association. By it, our desire for liberation diminishes. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37, it is stated that man's fear is due to his material conception of life and to his forgetting his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Consequently, he finds himself having only perverted memories. This occurs due to the spell of material energy. One who has sufficient intelligence will engage in full devotional service and regard the Supreme Lord as his spiritual master and worshipable God. The conclusion is that no one can attain a revolution in consciousness without engaging in devotional service to the Lord. When one is actually free from material contamination, he can only engage himself in Krishna consciousness. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.4, it is clearly said that one who engages in spiritual life to understand things as they are, but who lack all intention of engaging in Krishna consciousness, simply achieves trouble for his undertaking. There is no substance to his life. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is the duty of every living entity to serve that Supreme Whole. Without such service, the living entity falls into material contamination. Lord Chaitanya concluded his teaching to Sanatana Goswami by pointing out that the six kind of Atmarams or transcendentalists engage in some kind of devotional service to Krishna. In other words, at some time or another, all the transcendentalists ultimately come to understand the necessity of rendering devotional service to Krishna and become fully Krishna conscious. Even if one is very learned or extravagant, he can still engage in the devotional service of the Lord. The six kind of transcendentalists are neophyte transcendentalist, the absorbed transcendentalist, one who is situated in transcendence, one who desires liberation, one who is actually liberated, and one who is engaged in activities in his constitutional position. All of these are Atmarams. When a person becomes an Atmaram or a great thinker in Krishna consciousness, he fully engages in devotional service. According to the grammatical rules, there are many kinds of Atmarams, but one sense of the word is sufficient to represent the other. In collective sense, all the Atmarams are inclined to worship the Supreme Lord Krishna. The mystic who worships the super soul within himself is also a Atmaram. The Atmaram yogis are of two kinds, Sagarbha and Nigarbha. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.8, some yogis meditate within their heart on the localized Vishnu with four-handed and who holds four symbols, conch, disc, mace, and lotus. From this page onwards, I'll just read some of the highlights to save some time. The Sagarbha and Nigarbha yogis can further be divided into three categories: the beginner, the advanced yogi, and he who has attained perfection. These yogis are described in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are trying to ascend the path of mystic yoga are called Arurukshu yogis. Beginners. In Aruruksha Yoga, one practices various sitting postures and concentrates the mind. One ascends the path of yoga by means of meditation and detachment, and then one is no longer attached to working for sense gratification. He gradually becomes free. At that time, he attains a state of ecstasy called Yoga Ruddha. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागररघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखावितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुवैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमो। Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha where we are discussing the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And in this chapter, there are many chapters in after this, and there are many chapters which we have passed where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is discussing about the qualities of devotee, devotion. And now in this chapter, he is discussing about the conclusion of teachings to Sanatan Goswami. So, as you know, Sanatan Goswami is one of the six prominent acharyas, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is discussing this with one of his greatest disciples, and he's concluding about liberation. What is liberation? So, first we have to discuss who is Sanatan Goswami and what is the relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uh, is uh, is Krishna himself, and he sent Rupa and Sanatan, the two brothers. Sanatan Goswami is the elder brother, from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan to excavate places of Lord Krishna's pastimes, where Lord Krishna, Srimati Radharani exhibited their pastimes, and so many other pastimes in Vrindavan. And at 500 years ago, the place was in a very dilapidated state. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu trained, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu based his headquarters in Jagannath Puri, and he let his emissaries go to different parts of India. And he sent Nityanand Prabhu somewhere, he sent uh, Rupa and Sanatan, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. And if you go to Tota Gopinath temple, on the top of the Tota Gopinath temple in Puri, uh, it is mentioned that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ended his pastime, his material pastime on this material planet, by merging into Tota Gopinath in Jagannath Puri. So in the Tota Gopinath temple in Jagannath Puri, which is very near the beach, there are paintings where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is training Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami. And here, Sanatan Goswami is a very dear disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Sanatan Goswami, after going to Vrindavan, he was taking care of his deity Gopal, and Gopal was very dear. Sometimes he becomes senior, elder. He couldn't do uh, Madhukari, wherein he would go and ask for alms, because they are sannyasis. They don't do any work, the real material work, but they really do the work. The real work is done by them. So they do not do any earning money business. So they rely on what alms are given to them by the devotees. So sometimes when he becomes old, he couldn't uh, get lot of produce. And Gopal was telling, "Hey Sanatan, you're always feeding me this balls of atta, and when can you give me a little salt? Because it's becoming very lack of taste. You're only giving me this atta balls as bhoga, and I'm very happy, but I would like to get." And so with that relationship, Sanatan Goswami became very sad, and once he kind of became angry that, "Go, you manage your own salt." With that, Sanatan Goswami kind of chastises Gopal, his deity, that you worry about your salt. And that's the kind of relationship which happened. And the next day, one businessman came with a huge ship of salt, and his ship got entangled in the mud of Yamuna. And he's a big businessman, and he has come to sell salt in top market, and his salt is stuck. The boat of salt, the ship of salt is stuck. And if the boat doesn't get untangled, then his entire salt would get wasted, and he will lose millions in this current trade. So he got perturbed, his ship got entangled. So he asked the passerby, who can help me, untangle this ship from the salt? Then the passerby said, there is a Baba who is in the top of the hillock. Why don't you go and request him? He may do some magic and get this salt boat untangled. So this businessman, whose name was Kapoor, he goes on to the hillock, and then he meets Sanatan Goswami on the top. Sanatan Goswami is a pure devotee, and he saw this Baba with his Gopal, and Sanatan Goswami found out that this person's boat of salt has come and got entangled. He realized this is the handiwork of Gopal, because he is not only mischievous, he plays with his devotees with the sweet pastime. He must have sent this person. So he started glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead to businessman Kapoor. And the whole night they did kirtan, they were in ecstasy. Kapoor, for a moment, forgot that he had this karmic business where he's entangled, and the whole night they did campfire and they did offerings, devotional service to Gopal, and they were just chanting and dancing with joy. And the next day morning, with moistened eyes, when Sanatan Goswami wanted to leave, when businessman Kapoor wanted to leave for his business, bidding goodbye to Sanatan Goswami, he paid his obeisances and asked, what can I do for you? And Sanatan Goswami said, if you do, if you make some, if you want to serve in future, if you want to do something for me, and if you want to do something for Gopal, please help serve Gopal. So the businessman Kapoor left the hillock where they were doing this in the early morning and went, and mysteriously speaking, his ship got disentangled from the mud of Yamuna, and the ship is ready to bid goodbye to the banks of Yamuna. And he got so happy that Gopal must have had these plans. And then he sold the salt with million times profit. And then immediately after making profit, he comes back and he built this, and he and fast forward, he built this beautiful temple, Madan Mohan temple in Vrindavan. It's one of the prominent temples, and from that day onwards, in the temple, the Sanatan Goswami's atta balls smeared with salt is available. The reason why I wanted to say that is we wanted to understand the position of Sanatan Goswami, that he's an enormously gifted and devoted devotee, and through him Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was exhibiting those discussions, and those discussions are the cornerstone of today's topic. So Sanatana Goswami is the exalted Vaishnava, and here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying there are three kinds of liberation. So now let's discuss what is liberation. And there are people, one kind of people who simply desire liberation, and there is another kind of people who are liberated already. The people who desire liberations are often the so-called sadhus, and the people who are already liberated are His Divine Grace, and so many exalted top devotees who have left this world thinking about Krishna, fully conscious about the presence of Krishna in their life. Because wherever you are, Krishna is watching you and Krishna is in the hearts. So they always ended up leading a life, thinking, meditating, serving Krishna. And the third kind of people is even while in this material existence, those who are actually self-realized. So what is self-realization? So let's talk a little bit about self-realization. So when you gain a lot of knowledge, you try to think that you have a lot of knowledge. You gained, you acquire, you study, you followed, you experiment, you do some theorems, empirical values, and then you become aware of so many things. You become aware of the car, you become aware of the house, you become aware of an IT application, you become aware of the uh, priest standards. So you become a lot of knowledgeable. But that gyan or knowledge, if you add ahankar to it, jnana plus ahankar, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu says, jnana plus ahankar is agyan, is actually foolishness. And jnana with humility, without ahankar, with humility, jnana with humility is vigyan. So jnana plus ahankar is agyan, jnana with humility is vigyan, which is self-realization. So the people who are self-realized have jnana. Jnana doesn't necessarily means degrees, this degree, that degree. That is not jnana. Jnana is a fact or a theorem or a postulate which is well understood about you, understood by you, which leads us to the path of clarity where the ignorance is removed. And those are self-realized people, and they often ask for. So there are different kinds of liberation, and so there are four kinds of liberation which are favorable, which are sarupya mukti, having a form same as the Lord; sasti mukti, achieving opulence equal to those of the Lord; and samipya mukti, living as a personal associate of the Lord; and salokya mukti, living in the planet, Vaikuntha planet, where the Lord resides. Those are four favorable kinds of liberation. And the unfavorable, which is one out of the five, is Sayujya Mukti, which is often the understanding of impersonalist, and they want to merge into the existence or body of the Lord. Think about merging into the body of the Lord. Often when we are not clean, we do not feel like entering the building of the temple, isn't it? Thinking about somebody who wants to, after passing away, he will be merged into the existence of the body of the Lord is unthinkable for a devotee. For a devotee, where cleanliness and punctuality are the hallmark, going into the temple without having done your regulation, your cleanliness is unthinkable. Forget about it. And if you have done some things related to your nature's cause, that is just in the same dress, you don't even think of going inside the curtain. Forget about it. There's the standards as such. In comparison to that, thinking about merging into the existence of the body of the Lord is unthinkable for a devotee. That's why it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, akama sarvakama va mokshakama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. That means of all the angles, material desire, which is bhukti, and desiring liberation, which is mukti. When this bhukti and mukti, they're actually chasing Krishna. Come on, give me some money, give me my liberation. But what is Krishna doing? Krishna is running after the cows. Krishna is running after his devotees. So you have a situation where you have these unintelligent desires to gain money, bhukti, kama, getting more and more bank balance, and mukti, liberation. These personalities are running after Krishna. But what is Krishna running after? Krishna is running after pure devotees, cows. Krishna is very dear to his devotees. So think about this scenario. You are running after somebody, and that Supreme Personality of Godhead is running after devotees, running after the gopis for that matter. This understanding is very profound. And as devotees, if we have this, then this entire conclusion with Sanatana Goswami, which Srila Prabhupada has beautifully written, is going to be very clear in our mind that as yogis, we elevate ourselves, and the Ashtanga Yoga process, which is all about do's and don'ts in the beginning, is explained. But at the end of the day, they all refer to our ability to absorb our mind in thought of Krishna. And who is saying that? The conclusion discussion between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami, as discussed with a great Vaishnava, Sanatana Goswami, as you can see in this picture, is being discussed here. And then in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is this beautiful verse, Krishna Bhakta Niskama Ateva Santa. That means a devotee of Krishna is desireless. He's very peaceful. He's very peaceful in its attempt to chant, like some of you are chanting just before the class. They're very excited about waiting for some festivals. Nrsimhadev's appearance festival is coming. Akshaya Tritiya is coming next Friday. They are always anxiously waiting for these festivals to serve Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami, Sakali Asanta, fruitive workers, Bhukti, desire for material enjoyment, Gyanis, who desire liberation, Mukti, Bhukti Mukti, Siddhi Kami. That means people who crave for Bhukti and Mukti, and yogis who desire for material opulence. They are all lusty because they're desiring, you see, they're desiring, they're lusty. And whoever is lusty, who is desiring something, there is that apprehension and anxiety that, can I receive it? Can I ever receive it? And they're always in anxiousness. Sakali Asanta. They're always full of anxiety and Asanta. They're not Santa. They're always, Santa is peaceful. They're not at peace. So anyone who is seeking bhukti, mukti, and siddhi, these three kinds of people, they are Sakali Asanta. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, very clearly mentioning. And always devotee is at peace, not seeking material desire again and again and again. So, in this context, Prahlad Maharaj was asked after Nrsimhadev kills Hiranyakashipu, takes all the intestines apart. Nrsimhadev asks Prahlad, what do you want? You had desire to see me and I have protected you. So what do you want? Prahlad Maharaj says that Nrsimhadev, my dear Nrsimhadev, when my father, who's filled with gold in his buildings and his empire, Hiranya, is full of gold. When he was leading and he was having so much of money, for that matter, demigods used to come and pay obeisances. In spite of that, I have never seen my father in peace, in happiness. He's always a Santa. He was always thinking that his position is going to be taken away. So I have perfectly realized that I don't need any bhakti or mukti or siddhi in my life. I just want an opportunity to serve you again and again and again. So you can analyze, paralyze, post-mortem, and then eventually realize that serving is the topmost thing. When you know that that is such a practical thing, why dwell in our life with either this or that? There'll be a lot of people around who will just keep on asking the same question, same question. They will never get the answer. Even recently, I met a devotee in the temple who was asking questions about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is he really the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Really? He's still not. He's 75, 80 years old. He still haven't got the conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ra- Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya, he's he's not even believing that. I mean, when we know, that's why sometimes Srila Prabhupada, when devotees ask the same question again and again, Srila Prabhupada says, are you interested about eating and rejoicing the sweetness of the mango? Or you want to count the seeds of the mango? There's no point digging, paralyzing, analyzing the inherent facts. And in this world, everybody wants proof. Everybody wants proof at every step of the way. And when you put a pencil on the edge of a water in a glass of water, they cannot explain the rationale behind why it is appearing to be bent, but actually it is not. It's an aberration. It's an optical aberration, optical illusion. Likewise, there is no point creating a doubt in the minds. And also in this chapter, there are references to in this age of Kali. This age of Kali is a process where is the impurities in the age of Kali is such that it is not easy to be clean in this age of Kali because there are so many impurities, there is so much of distractions. Not everything you get is pure. So in this age, seeking liberation, which needs so many processes, this, that, is not realistic in the sense. And so they want to create an aura wherein in this chapter it is mentioned that the speciality of Kali Yuga is the yardstick for access to the Lord is not as high as Satya Yuga. So as the yardstick is low, Krishna has packed everything in his name. When Krishna has packed everything in the name, just by name calling, you will gain the Supreme. So that, like whenever you have a difficult exam, where the questions are very hard, and the topper scores 45%, he gets 45% right. That 45% is equal to A plus, and probably 40% is equal to A. And same is the nature of Kali Yuga. The yardsticks are so difficult that you can't utter the Sanskrit mantras properly. You can't focus your mind properly. You can't use the material benefits properly. So, in order to get 45 to A plus, Krishna has packed everything in his name. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama I Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva Nasteva Gatyanita. And also, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned, Kalo Tat Harikirtana. That means in this age of Kali, the only solution is Harikirtana. So this liberation is a theoretical understanding for all of us to strengthen our focus on the aspect of devotional service. So these things are empirical additions in our conviction that there is something which is more powerful than the sense of liberation. And when yogis go from step to step to step, like the 6 kinds of Atmarams, which are mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's discussion with Sanatana Goswami 500 years ago. As you do more and more devotional service, you will transcend from one of these levels to another, and that level to another. And you would ascertain and you will certify that when you join Krishna consciousness, say you joined Krishna consciousness 5 years ago, your methodology, your ability, your amount of peace, you have left all those potluck parties, you have left all those Friday evening get-togethers, and now we all are trying to hear something, meditate something, apply something in our life, uttering the Lord's name more and more. So you would attest that over a period of 5 years to 4 years to 3 years to 2 years to 1 year, you have increased, or rather you have raised your taste. So you have got a higher taste. And because of that higher taste, what was appearing normal now looks abnormal to you. Now your friends are your temple friends. You may have some non-temple friends, but sometimes when you realize that they are not favorable to your ascent, your sadhana, your practice, you are deciding to align with those who can take you forward in your quest. And what is this forward? Not getting $100 more or $200 more. In our quest to love Krishna more and more, love the Supreme Personality of Godhead more and more. And more you do that, you would see this in your behavior, in your humility, in your commitment to attend or do some service. And this you will feel yourself. Nobody is going to tell you, because Krishna is in our hearts. Krishna is looking at you. Krishna is looking at us. And that's why many acharyas mentions this process is so clear that you're trying to serve something to where you came from, because you are not the body, you are the soul. And when you are not the body, you are the soul. And the proprietor of the soul is not you, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is looking at you all the time because he is closest to you. So you would aspire to do something which would entail that you serve him, serve his devotees. And Krishna is following his dear devotees all the time, not the situation wherein bhukti and mukti are always after Krishna, trying to engulf or trying to merge the dying to get to that stage. But you, as devotees, are not worried about all those personal glorification. You're just worried about how I can do some service so that your way of thinking changes and you become great souls in your ability to understand Krishna consciousness. As you can see, this beautiful Vaishnava, Srila Sanatana Goswami, is one of the 6 Goswamis, and how his Atta Balls Bhoga is such a hit, and Krishna listened to him, and Krishna was looking for little salt, and he sent someone with a ship full of salt. So when Kapoor, Vishnusan Kapoor arrived with his salt ship entangled in mud, Sanatana Goswami realized that this is a calling where Gopal was asking for little salt. And what has happened? A ship of salt has flown in and is entangled, and it is seeking mercy to get out and get sold. So this is nothing but devotional service, and how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. And here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is concluding the process of liberation with one of his dearest disciples, so that we all are confident about the inadequacies in liberation and significance of devotional service or bhakti in our life. So we can go on and on, but would like to hear your realizations, your thoughts, your comments, reflections, and if you have any corrections. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any question, comments? Any additions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji. Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Prabhuji, very nice class. I really like the part, like the types of liberation. And you explained very nicely. And there was one unfavorable one. Yes, that even if we think about it or even if we read it, it felt weird. Like we can understand more if there is another way. But yes, that is clear. Like that is really the unfavorable way of liberation, and others are really nice ones. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for your comments. And in this world, liberation is very widely discussed, and we often are glued to nature, to our relatives. And they will mention so many things, but once we are in doubt, we take the resort in the scriptures. I think, because before joining Krishna consciousness, also I had this misconception about mukti being the topmost, but actually it is not. So thank you for your comment. Any other thoughts? Any other?
Unfavorable means like Advait or Abhed, they want to merge into the God, become one. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So thank you, Mataji. So Advaita, right? Advaita. So Advaita means they think Advaita is actually not an incorrect understanding of the Supreme, because in our heart we have the soul, which is the proprietor of the soul. But in thinking about that, right, what the disciples of Advaita philosophy, sometimes they want to realize that the extension of that is we're qualitatively similar. We like to eat food, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead likes to eat food. We like to dress ourselves well. So we have characteristics similar. So when this deep understanding is used in a very selfish method, they sometimes think they are God. So you'll go to those temples or wherever, where the picture of the so-called Advait uh, meditator or a practitioner would be at a higher pedestal. They give value. So they are, in our sense, they think that the God is like a void, and for us, God has a form. So yes, to your point, the Advaita philosophers, actually within Advaita also there is different breakups, but generally speaking, the Advaita philosophers, they do not consider God to be a person. So they are, in Srila Prabhupada's terms, they are impersonalist, and impersonalists have a tendency to merge with the Brahma Jyoti, which is a effulgence of the Lord. So effulgence of the Lord is like what? Is like like you have fire, and then you have the effulgence of the fire. So they would like to even merge with the effulgence. So that is good for them. They will not consider God to be a person, but they would like to take benefit of that. So generally speaking, to your point, Advaita philosophers, but actually there are many subdivisions of Advaita as well, and quite a lot of them are not at all close to our method uh, of practice, and they have a tendency to seek liberation, which in our method is not recommended, because we are devotees of the Lord, and we want to serve the Lord, because we are part and parcel of the Lord, and that's why we want to serve the Lord. Is that okay, or we want to discuss more about this?
Understood. It is clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Any other comments? Any other questions? Any other reflections? More reflections? Because there is no right or wrong in this. It's how you realize this beautiful subject matter and how you apply in your life that is more important. So, anybody wants to opine or comment anything based on this subject matter?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
I was just reflecting on how miraculous it was for the little deity to come alive and ask for salt. Now imagine if you were worshiping your deity in offering boga, and the deity came alive and asked you for something. That just makes me want to, it renews my enthusiasm for deity worship, and for, not that I'm qualified to ever have my deity speak to me, but to think that I should be living in such a way that my deity might want to come and interact. It's just, it's bewildering, but it's so heartwarming, I think. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Such wonderful, very nice. Thank you, Murari Prema Prabhu, for sharing your desire for deity worship. The deities are they are not idols, which is often used in the outside world, and they consider Ramayana and Mahabharata as a myth. They mention that these are a part of mythology. So they are not myth, they are not idols, they are deities, and deities are impregnated in the prana pratishtha, so they have a life. So the deities in the temple, the deities who are done through a welcome ceremony, they have life. That's the reason why once we get into this mode of service, we are asked not to reduce it, just maintain it and not reduce. So many of the deities, just to add to Murari Prabhu's comment, Sakshi Gopal deity near Jagannath Puri, he came all the way to provide Sakshi. Sakshi means he was a proof at some time. And look at the reciprocation. The Lord came all the way, and when the devotee looked back, the Lord stopped there. Sakshi Gopal is a brilliant. And in New Jersey, I've heard there's a devotee. They started hosting Lord Jagannath in their temple, in their house, home temple, but they are actually not from a rice eating area. So I heard that after the installation, they were all given, the lordships were given nice offerings, but they were not given rice because these devotees were not taking. And for a few nights, they started hearing the utensils cracking, making, falling down or cracking. And after they started offering rice, the noise from the kitchen. So deities reciprocate. Deities have a wonderful way to reciprocate. In this example with Sanatana Goswami's Gopal, and I'm sure how closely you do the service, that closely they will offer to you. There are many devotees in our congregation as well. They hear such beautiful dreams about Lord Jagannath, and when they tell us, I just think why I'm not pure enough like them to see or rather dream about such beautiful pastimes. How they come in, Lord Jagannath comes in their dreams, and Lord Shamsundar likewise. So it's a very personal relationship. It's how you connect, and these will come after you start doing service, follow the guidelines as mentioned by our founder Acharya, and I'm sure you'll relish that relationship. And Gaur Govind Maharaj's Gopal Jiu deities, if you Google, you'll find some wonderful relationships, and so on and so forth. There are so many wonderful pastimes about devotee and deity relationship we all should feel inspired about. Thank you for your comment, Prabhu. Any other reflections? I think Simeswar Prabhu may not be around. If you're around, we can close.
Prji, thank you. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. Nicely explained the devotion, the worship. So, the devotees, anything? Anybody else would like to share anything? Any questions, concerns, comments? Anything else? Okay, if not, let's conclude today's class. Let's chant together. Vancha kalpatarupasya prabhasindubheva padidana bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. The ki jai. Ananda Gaur ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Hare Hare Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank
Bol.
you.
Thank you, Ravi. Hare Krishna.